three massive stories to break down today. Here are today's latest reports surrounding Robert Sanchez, as we are in negotiations to sign the Brighton goalkeeper. To move on though, don't think those Kylian Mbappe links were going anywhere anytime soon, because today we have even more confirmation surrounding our interest to try and sign Mbappe. And to end things, my friends, Levi Colwill is currently in advanced negotiations over a long-term contract. So, wow, this next month in August is set to be an absolutely crazy one. We're finally signing and bringing additions to the squad. So my friends, make sure you have those notification buttons set on BlueLionsTV, because next month is going to be absolutely crazy with signings, news, the Premier League returning, plus a lot more. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button. Thank you to all the love and support over the past month. But before we continue on, today's video is brought to you by OneFootball. With August set to be one of the busiest periods so far this year for our football club, OneFootball is the best app to have to stay up to date to all the daily news uploads around our club. As you guys can see, we're seeing some of the big reports happening from across Europe, with Ousmane Dembele now asking to move to Paris Saint-Germain. What does this mean now for Kylian Mbappe? That's going to be a very interesting story. As we can see here, reports around Kylian Mbappe. Barcelona are showing interest. I can't wait to discuss this story later on in this video, but crazy things are set to happen during this month, my friends. And obviously, we have our final pre-season game against Borussia Dortmund coming very, very soon. So as I recommend, for you football crazy fans, OneFootball is actually an app that will be very useful for you, and you'll find a link below in the description and in the QR codes on screen too. So right now, my friends, let's discuss these Kylian Mbappe reports. But to start off, I do want to say this. Now, when we read stories like this linking us with like the game's global superstars, it's very easy to put logical conclusions at the forefront. And what I mean by that is essentially this. Our odds of signing Mbappe are probably next to nothing, right? But my friends, does it hurt us to at least try to attempt to sign him? And for me, I'd be more disappointed by our lack of ambition if we didn't at least attempt to try and engineer a move. So regardless, when this ownership took over, they put ambition at the forefront, and I want to see that remain in all capacities, right? So my friends, let's discuss the latest reports coming out from Spain, France and England, and we start with Spanish reports first. So let's start with the Spanish reports, and it states that if Mbappe does end up leaving Paris Saint-Germain, then legally he is entitled to a 60 million loyalty bonus fee, which is normal in the game. And essentially this clause refers to him still remaining at Paris Saint-Germain once it hits August 1st, which is literally tomorrow. And then legally, Paris Saint-Germain must pay him that fee if he goes, and they have the option to pay in installments over time. So here's where things get interesting, because let's say that Mbappe's team was to strategize a move away. They could say to Paris Saint-Germain, we're happy to rescind that loyalty bonus fee. You guys can keep that if you can allow our client to leave your football club. Now, we are getting multiple confirmations now from media across Europe suggesting that Al Khelafi, the Paris Saint-Germain owner, and Todd Bowley have held direct communications and talks of the availability of signing Mbappe. But this remains the main reality. And that reality is, regardless if we find a way to sign him from Paris Saint-Germain and have an offer accepted, can we actually entice Mbappe to reject Real Madrid and to sign for us? Now, the fan part of me would love to feel optimistic. I'd love to feel that with our recent additions of players like your own Kunkus, Badia Shields, Fofanas, Gustos, plus many more French players I'm sure we're set to sign before the window ends, we could sell to Mbappe that we have a healthier, more conducive environment for you to focus more on your football, have a good time with your friends, and be in a club environment and a squad dynamic where you're far away from all that, BS, glitzy, glam type of like global superstar lifestyle. I'm sure you got tired of having to constantly battle with the hierarchy at Paris Saint-Germain. And if you go to Real Madrid, you will be subjected to more of the same type of thing. Sign for us, focus more on your football, and focus more on yourself. We can be the club with you and your help to be the most powerful club in the world. That's my optimistic outlook. But realistically, I still feel that our chances of signing him, especially without Champions League football, remains very slim. So it gets me thinking this. Right now, we don't know what Real Madrid are planning. Now, there have been these rumours circling for I think maybe 3 months now. I've not really discussed these, but they do involve Valverde of Real Madrid. And these reports keep stating that we are interested in potentially making a mega money move to sign him. Now, for me, the only way I see Real Madrid's, of course, raising the funds now to sign Mbappe for right now was if they sacrifice a big player. And you'd probably think that your Valverdes are more likely to leave compared to Tchouaméni, Camavinga and other midfield targets. Obviously, that's a very optimistic outlook in which to see things. I know that. But the reality is that if Mbappe ends up going, who's he going to go to? Because only a handful of clubs can actually afford him. And right now, we're seeing nothing from Man City links. Bayern can't afford him whatsoever. Of course, we're not seeing anything from Liverpool's, Arsenal's or whatever, but you wouldn't imagine Mbappe signing for those clubs. So we're part of a handful of clubs that have the finances and resources to actually sign him to begin with. So if Madrid can't make a move to sign him, then I guess he has to bluff his way out of Paris Saint-Germain, remain there, and of course deal with the consequences of being ostracized from the team. By Paris Saint-Germain actually transfer listing him to begin with, that sends out a very powerful message, and one message that these guys are staying consistent with is that the club is more powerful than any player. So in my opinion, I just can't see any possibility of Paris Saint-Germain, forgetting everything, allowing Mbappe to remain with them and play for next season, and watch this guy leave on a free for absolutely nothing. I can't see that being the case. Right now, reports state that Arsenal and Barcelona are the only clubs that have offered a player swap plus money deal to try and sign him. And the 3 guys I mentioned yesterday being Lukaku, Ziyech as bait options, but maybe Raheem Sterling, who's on incredibly high wages. And you think that with Mbappe, Sterling's, Mudrik's, etc., all these guys simply can't exist together. One would have to be sold. With Paris Saint-Germain now set to sign Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona, I don't see who Barcelona can offer in a player exchange deal. And obviously they're losing one of their key players to Paris Saint-Germain. So I still feel like there's going to be more reports coming around the story, because as we're getting closer and closer to the start of the new season across every league right now, the pressure is now on Mbappe to find a solution away from Paris Saint-Germain. So let's see what he decides to do. So that's the first story out of the way. So now, my friends, let's discuss one of the breaking stories of this afternoon. And we discuss Robert Sanchez, the goalkeeper from Brighton. As we now know, we are currently in negotiations to strike a deal to sign him. And we've got confirmation that Robert Sanchez wants to move and wants to sign for us. Now, does our efforts for Sanchez affect anything involving Caicedo? My friends, don't worry about that whatsoever. Caicedo is still priority number 1, but in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a bit of like an Enzo deal where we find an agreement right near the end. Right now, Robert Sanchez isn't really part of De Zerbi's plans, and Brighton have already replaced him with Dutch goalkeeper Bart Verbruggen. So in terms of the news, that is all we have right now. Obviously, I got a lot of thoughts and opinions behind this, but to be absolutely brutally honest with you guys, I don't have extremely strong opinions on Robert Sanchez. I don't feel like he's a flop who's terrible and not good enough. But at the same time, I don't think he's like one of the elite goalkeepers in the world. But a part of me is now realistic. I think once we got prices out for guys like Magnon and other targets, I think we had a set budget for goalkeepers. And I think this is why, of course, you're not going to see us splash out 100 M's or anything on a goalkeeper. So far, in terms of the signings we've made under this new ownership, they have been very positive. So if they feel like they're seeing something in Robert Sanchez, listen, he might not be their number 1 target, but the fact that he is on our shortlist does give me some sense of confidence that they have some good hopes around him. And right now, we only have Kepa. Slonina now is set to move to Kazupen in the Belgium league, and obviously he needs more professional game time getting minutes before he even has a place coming back to this football club. But if you sign someone like a Sanchez where he's only on like 25k per week, he won't be earning 6 figures whatsoever. His transfer fee shouldn't cost too much at all, and it's like the club feel he has the capabilities and capacities to even challenge Kepa for the number 1 spot. and possibly even win that battle. So in the future, if Slonina is developing behind the scenes over the next year or two, he becomes a strong option we can look towards, whilst we have two relatively decent, good goalkeepers. And I'd probably rank these guys as like, B type of tier level type of players. Hopefully, because their skill set complements Pochettino's football, that can mask over any criminal flaws and weaknesses in their game. Now, I think one thing we have to discuss is why Robert Sanchez lost his first team spot in the team under De Zerbi. And De Zerbi, in very rare fashion, was very honest about things and essentially said, in Robert's steel, I have a goalkeeper who just has a few more percentage increases and little details that I want to see in my goalkeeper. And those details included things like decision making and of course the speed of decision making with his short passing. Obviously with how Brighton play, we all know that De Zerbi likes to have the opposition press really come deep towards them, and it's all about playing out from that press under big pressure to be able to find those fast breakaways to break through them. So if Sanchez doesn't necessarily fit that style to a T, it doesn't mean that he isn't good enough and can't play at a higher level, because our needs are completely different to Brighton's needs. And I'm going to tell you guys this, obviously, with what we've been seeing with our team in this pre-season. We're seeing a lot of reliance on overloads out wide. And I think to find our pacey wingers who are going to make those forward runs in behind, we need a goalkeeper that is very strong in his passing. And Robert Sanchez is a strong passer in medium distances and long distances as well too. We all know about his game against Man City 2 years ago, but I think he still holds the highest rank for the most passes and completed passes made by a goalkeeper in the Premier League. And when you get stats like that, you're not getting them by accident, and you can't fluke that type of stuff. You need to have the real deal behind your game, and we need a goalkeeper that can connect the fields, that can play those super passes in behind to help our transition game and our counter-attacking game. But there's also other qualities that I like in Robert Sanchez. Now, the guy is a physical, aggressive goalkeeper, and he's 6'5". He is taller and stronger than Kepa, and he is actually really strong in his high claims, and he uses his body really well to be able to outmuscle opponents who are attempting to make those headed attempts against him. And I've been saying, even though Kepa had his best season for us in his career last season, his one fundamental flaw is that he isn't strong enough in defending set pieces, high claims, defending against crosses, etc, etc. We conceded so many key goals due to those fine details, and that is something that we had to fix. Sanchez is an aggressive goalkeeper. This guy is not afraid to go right to the edge of his box to punch away any crosses or through ball attempts in behind. He is very quick off the first steps of his lines. He's a decent shot stopper. He has good reflexes, and due to his frame and height, he does pull off those spectacular saves that keep you in the game. But at the same time, he's not necessarily perfect right now, and in my opinion, now that he has this opportunity to play at a higher level and play for a club like us, it's really up to him now to maximize his talents and to fully take advantage of this opportunity, because I'd say if there's one thing about his game, he is susceptible to lapses of concentration and making mistakes. Now obviously if you're an aggressive goalkeeper, I accept that out of every 20 games, you'll probably make one mistake to concede a goal because you just mistimed your aggression. And that's okay, because that is normal for top goalkeepers. But when you sign for us, you're not going to get peppered with 10, 15 shots on goal, where you're constantly going to be on your toes and mentally ready and in tune with the game. There's going to be times where you're just a passenger watching things, but you're going to have one moment in game. And they're the key moments that's going to define what you do. And for me, sometimes you can have those lapses of concentration, but in a new environment, new goalkeeping coaches and a manager that is open to working with him in a football style that suits his game, of course, I'm open to the fact that Sanchez could be a low-key success. And again, I don't have any strong opinions about the club making an awful signing here, because I think he's just a decent player. But for me, the team's more important than individuals. So if your best qualities suit the best qualities of our team, that can mask over everything. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions. How do you feel about Robert Sanchez? Let us know below. And now let's end things briefly by discussing the latest news around Levi Colwill. And amazing news, he is currently in advanced negotiations now over a long-term contract. So I guess we say, smell you later, Brian. But regardless, he has 2 years left on his deal currently, and I'm expecting this contract to be a big boy contract because certain guys like I think Santos and Chukwuemeka are on like 6 figures already. I'd imagine Cole could get a lot more than that, and for a guy that Pochettino himself said can be one of the greatest defenders in this country. A manager like this is not saying that for nothing, yeah? Like, there has to be real clout behind these words. Now, this is great news. I'm sure that Cole has been loving life with the squad right now, loving life under Mauricio Pochettino. You know, having managers like this who are talking to the players directly, who have those types of personal effects with them as well too. This is something I wanted to see Thomas Tuchel do, but I accept that managers at this sport, in this game, they do things differently in terms of what brings successes for them. It's nice to know that I can just focus on seeing Colwill develop now over the next few years because he's going to be tied down for a very, very long time. And I guess the only thing I'm going to leave for all of us to like question and ponder over, can Colwill actually reach the same heights as John Terry? Now I know I might be sounding a bit mad right now, but I remember watching John Terry rising up when he was playing alongside your Desais and Frank Leboeufs. Those guys imparted so much experience and knowledge towards him, and I think they really made Terry this like continental Italian style defender, in my opinion. To this day, he is the best defender I've ever seen, and I know that it's easy to get gas and be like, yes, Cole's definitely set to be the new John Terry, but I see it like this. Every generation, there's like a handful of players that have the capacity and potential to reach the highest heights set before them by their predecessors. And I think that Colwill is able to maybe challenge for that mantle based on his game, his IQ, his intelligence, his maturity, his ambition. Like, you need all these ingredients in sync alongside the player having a serious mentality and professionalism as well too. And if you have these things, anything can happen and possibilities open up. But I know that over the next few years, it's going to be very, very exciting watching Levi Colwill kickstart attacks for us and dominating against attackers. So my friends, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.